Welcome to another episode of William Steele True Crime, Steele Spotlight TV and Radio, and now Public Relations. Thank you for watching me on Inmate to Roommate. I love my fans and all your support. Here we are rolling into episode 2 with my new co-host, the expert on all things crime, straight out of ATF, former federal law enforcement agent, who's I'm still astounded that he's willing to be my partner after all the illegal things I've done. But I guess he believes in redemption, and I'm glad he does.
Redemption's important, right, Bill?
Yes, sir. So I'm trying to here do the right thing, and I've listen. I spoke to my parole officer the other day, and he said, "We've all been waiting for you to screw up. You have like the worst track record in history of like anybody I'm supervising."
That's great, man.
He said,
you have a few weeks, and you're a free man, right?
He said, "I can't even believe you've made it this far." He said, "I've been following you. I know about your show. This is the one from out of state because I actually have two." And he's really impressed. And he said, "How did you do it?" And I said, "Well, I talk to kids now, church groups, colleges, and do my true crime. And I just want to help people. I want to share my experiences and help people."
That's what this platform is about too. We're helping people, educating people. I've been doing this with you and others, and you can look up our name. We're like professional guests. We've also done it all over for so many different interviews and shows and stuff like that. So check our names up in YouTube. Check this show out. Check us out in Rumble and other platforms. And we're all over radio, Spotify, and whatever. I've done a lot of radio shows too. I think you have also, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we've been all over, which is pretty cool.
Shout out to a couple of them, like Emily Men's House from
What the Frick Live, wait, with Martinez. You used to do with Martinez too. Will Martinez?
Martinez.
Yes.
From Invest in Yourself, Crime and Entertainment, Bill Stacks, Chatting with Stacks. Check out all these channels.
Hollywood Wade,
Crime and Entertainment. He's prolific in doing this.
It was fun. I used to show them.
How
pretty
about
good.
Mr. Berryman? We're forgetting our Australian friend.
Thomas Berman TV, absolutely. We've had a few good shows. We have some stuff in the works that will be coming out shortly. I think will be fun to do.
Another big one that I don't know if you met him yet, but if not, I'll introduce you. Bill Crooks, William Crooks.
Yeah, I've done Will Crooks. Yeah, sure.
Partners in Crime and Extraordination. Yes. He did the most incredible podcast about.
I heard it. Yeah.
That when I listened to my own story, when he did it, I was moved to tears. I was like, "Oh my God, this is really so good."
Check Bill's, and he did mine too. A few weeks later, he did mine.
Yep. So, and then also Matt Cox.
He's done really well. Matt Cox is great too.
Lock spokesman. He's home title lock. He's on CNN and Fox News all the time. He had both of us on. I was on 2 weeks ago. I think I looked yesterday. It was like 24,000 views so far.
Yeah, I've done 2 shows with him. Each one I think it's done close to like 14,000.
Yep.
So that's awesome.
It's crazy. The first day it shot up to like 8,000 views in one day. And
that's great, man.
From my interview, he picked up like 3,000 more subscribers.
We help each other. We scratch each other out. We keep on doing the shows, and the guy that does his books, the voice actor Sean Milo. I'll be remiss if I don't give a shout out to Sean Milo. He did my book ATF Undercover, which is an Audible, which is doing really good, and we're doing some other books now. The most dangerous crime syndicates of our time. That's gonna be a 7-hour listen almost, and that should be coming out hopefully in less than a month. I'm hoping. So it's a long one, and he's really good. I'm doing a lot of my books now on Audible. So if you're not a big reader, you'll be able to get it. So ATF Undercover, take a listen, and it's a real good one.
Excellent book. Links in the description. I'd just like to shout out to my producer from Inmate to Roommate. He said it was going to be a massive hit on A&E Network, and it was. I'm blessed. I'm humbled. I'm using my platform to help people.
Yeah.
Joe Bruiser, he was been nominated for an Emmy Award.
Oh, congrats.
Human being and a phenomenal producer. Funny guy. We got along great. And I didn't believe him when he kept saying, "You're doing great, Bill. You're doing great, Bill." I said, "No, Joe, you say that to all the people on your shows." He said, "No, this is really going to be good." And it was.
It was a good show, yeah. It's a good show.
I thank them. I thank Adler Entertainment, Sharp Entertainment, Marie Adler, and it's everybody that's really had a hand in encouraging me in going forward. So today we're going to be rolling right into a topic of current affairs, gigantic news stories that a lot of times try to suppress because it falls into the purview of one political party or the other. So we're going to try to discuss them in a balanced way, but they're no less troubling. So you have your list of topics. Let's hear what we're getting into today.
Yeah, we got quite a few things, and I was looking at the news, and I've been following. Those who don't know my background, I have a bachelor's in political science and history. I started a master in international relations at FIU. So I've always been fascinated with politics, current events, and going on. And I got into law enforcement and finished that 26 years of federal law enforcement. So this platform lets me have the best of both worlds, Bill. We got to talk politics. I read political books. I do true crime stuff. And I'm just appalled and shocked. And I've written about this. Joe Biden, one and done. Joe Biden, one and done. The situation in at the southwest border is atrocious. It is shocking. You have to look at the videos out there. We have no control of our border. At least with Trump, we had more control. We're finishing the wall. If we don't finish this wall, we're going to have a crisis that's unimaginable. Not just health crisis. We don't know what's coming in, and it's not just Mexicans or South or Central Americans. RFK Jr. I give him credit. He's trying, butt up against Biden, and Kamala Harris, our VP, still hasn't been there, right? She's the czar of this,
Right.
and she has no control, no handle of this. It is really shocking. She, in my opinion, this is my opinion. I think she's probably the worst vice president in our country's history.
Didn't the guy, Mayorkas, the guy who runs it,
he's horrible too.
He went to Congress and just looked like a deer caught in the headlights. He's lied.
Government Homeland Security.
He lied his way through testimony. I mean, just blatant lies. Like
if you haven't seen that, go. I've seen a lot of those videos. Go check it out. Go see how Ted Cruz rips him apart. Senator Ted Cruz from Texas rips him apart. You look at a lot of the senators there, Senator Kennedy from Louisiana, they all rip him apart for his lies and ineptitude. They're not enforcing. They're letting these people come in. It is a danger. It could have huge impact on our country for years. Like I said before, RFK Jr. went out there. He documented, because he is Bobby Kennedy's son. He is the nephew of JFK, John F. Kennedy, who was assassinated. There's things he says I don't agree with, but I think he's a lot better than Biden, for sure. I mean, he at least he's well written. He's written a lot. He's an environmental attorney. Okay, there's pros and cons with that on both sides there. But he picked up how messed up the situation is on the border when he went out there. Not just Mexicans, not just Central Americans. You have people from Afghanistan. You have people from India. You have people from all over the world who know you go to Mexico, Haiti. A lot of Haitians are coming to Mexico.
Walk right in.
So they know, don't come to the United States right away. Go through Mexico and then come in. Haitians.
There's also a lot of
Africans.
Military age. There's a lot of military age, very healthy Chinese males coming in.
Yeah.
And what is that for? Are they coming here to do sabotage in advance of anything that may happen between our countries? What are they even coming here for?
Yeah, no. We have to have control of the border. Now, not only people coming in. You got human trafficking. You have drugs coming in. We have fentanyl crisis in our country. We have weapons going on, and we have no control of anything. If we don't know what's coming in, we definitely don't stop anything coming out. So all the weapons that we have here are going to keep arming the cartels. They're very happy with that.
There has to be a way. There has to be a way.
The drug proceeds are coming out.
They're afraid to move him from office for whatever reason, because they know he's a disaster. But then you get Kamala Harris to cackle her. But Biden is so corrupt. I mean, they just admitted to the document that he received just on one deal, $5 million payoff from one country through his son, Hunter Biden. The man
that's an investigation needs to be done.
I mean, I'm not saying anything that's not out there. He's corrupt to the core, and he's losing his mind. What are they going to do? Now, yes, Trump's going to pardon himself when he gets elected. I believe he'll get reelected. Even if he's in jail, he'll get reelected. I think he'll pardon himself. But guess what? Biden can do the same thing for him and his son, like right now, and end all this stuff.
He might, and he might at the end. We'll see. If he loses the election, I think he'll definitely pardon his son, for sure, and then he might protect himself somehow, because that's the unfortunately the way that the things are going. But Kamala Harris, she has no chance of winning anything. She is awful. If you haven't seen the press conference when she was in Poland talking about the crisis with the Ukrainians coming in, right? Yep. And her answer is just shocking. And she starts cackling and laughing, looking at the president, and it's like, it's a serious question. What's the problem? Are we taking more Ukrainians also? What are you doing? Why are you laughing? Well, she has a history of inappropriate laugh. She tries to laugh her way out of things, which is inappropriate for a vice president. And she had if you haven't seen this, I thought this was a fake video. I thought that this was a deep. You know what deep fake is, Bill?
I think that's AI generated fakes.
Fakes where people, you have Tom Cruise is famous. There's so many deep fakes of Tom Cruise out there, which is unbelievable. It looks just like him doing stuff, right? I thought this was a deep fake of her on the border of North Korea and South Korea, saying that North Korea was our greatest ally. How great it is to have them. Dude, she messed up the whole thing. It was South Korea. And she's saying everything she's supposed to say about South Korea, calling it North Korea. If you haven't seen this video, this is probably one of the worst mess ups by a vice president ever. Can you ever imagine? They used to criticize Sarah Palin. They used to criticize Dan Quayle for potato, and she's taking the cake, man. She makes those two look like Einsteins.
They're completely incompetent. She's beyond incompetent. He's losing his mind and massively corrupt, probably the most corrupt president in history.
Yeah. No, I agree. No, I agree with that 100%.
Let me ask your perspective on something coming out of federal law enforcement.
Yeah.
I've always viewed ATF and FBI justice generally. I know you guys can't publicly say when you're on the job or do cases based upon your personal political beliefs. Everybody's got to be treated fairly. If they violate the law, violate the law. Yeah. Okay. But historically, and correct me if I'm wrong, these two agencies have always been viewed more with a more Republican pro, bent, I would think. So how is it Washington field office is so stacked with evidently Democrat FBI agents who are targeting viciously Republicans for non-crimes?
Yeah, I think you see a little differently with the FBI than you say, let's say ATF or maybe DEA, because FBI sometimes is more white collar oriented, right? And they sometimes get people who have an accountant background, attorney background, and ATF it's more of a, I'm going to use the term maybe blue collar, right? Because you get the worst of the worst, right? You get people. It's not a job for everybody, right? You're doing very violent criminals.
Dangerous. They're really dangerous people.
Dangerous people. I didn't sit down behind a desk. I went undercover. I met with these guys in their backyard, in apartments, in cars, in hotel rooms, and these are murderers. And you've got to fool them thinking. Of course, I didn't look like this. I didn't sound like this. And I think you see pictures.
Poker face on. That's for sure.
I do accents. My English is broken. I've been in the Cuba. I've been here 10 years from Cuba. All the whole 9 years. I'm going to tell them that I've got a master's degree. What the hell is this?
You could pour on the Tony Montana. Say hello,
Tony Montana. What's up? meet my little friend, right? And then light them up. So it's that's the kind of thing you got, because that's part of feeding into their mindset. Because these guys watch all this stuff, right? All these guys watch it. This is the drug dealer. They all want to be a Tony Montana, right? They all want to be the top. So you feed into their mindset, and that works for your advantage. You got to understand what you're dealing with. These guys have poor education. Some of these guys, but they know it's the street. Just like Chapo. I think we talk about Chapo Guzman and Mencho Cervantes right now. These guys are maybe dropouts from 3rd or 4th grade. They're semi-illiterate, but they came from abject poverty. But what did they become good at? They become good at killers. They killed, and they killed a lot. And that earned them the respect, and that's how they moved up the food chain, right?
Their favorite movies are always going to be Scarface and Godfather.
That's what showing them, because that's what they are. They're going to do it the same way. That's how they're making the money. They know their life expectancy is going to be real short, but they're going to live strong and hard, and that's how it's going to end. Either one way, they're going to get killed by the rivals or within, or they're going to get locked up and do a long time incarceration. So that's how it's going to end for those guys.
About the border crisis, I noticed even New York, the people that are saying sanctuary cities run by Democrats won't even keep them anymore. And they were putting veterans out of hotels, to put illegals in who are destroying the rooms, who are getting by one account $3,600 a month to be here illegally, and getting all these other benefits from different ministries and agencies. And now he's trying to pawn off the overflow into surrounding counties who want no part of this.
Yeah, no, it's a disaster. We got a 1, 2, 3 punch. It's so many different ways. That's one way, and then we have all these overstays. A lot of people fly in also into our country. They don't just come in from the border, and they have their visas, and they're only supposed to be here for X, Y. Let's say 3 months, whatever, but they disappear, right? That's the people with a little bit of money. They're not going to go through the risk their lives to the border, go through the Rio Grande, or go through all these obstacles with coyotes and all that. No, they're going to fly in here and they disappear. And that's what a lot of people do. And they have fake IDs, and they create a different life for themselves.
So a Mexican citizen is allowed to come in on a simple tourist visa for 2 weeks and just stay?
It's longer than that. If you get a visa approved, a lot of times they're maybe approved for a couple months or stuff, whatever. But not Mexico, just anywhere around the world. People come in with visas from around the world, and they disappear. I
remember back in the 80s, I was living with a bunch of women from Ireland, and we were around the country. They were hiding from, at that time, immigration, INS, I guess.
Absolutely. Everybody does it. It's not just
they had 6-month visas, and we all got arrested in Las Vegas, and they all got held on the immigration. At that they held them. they gave them the option. If you agree to be deported with no fight, and you pay for your trip, you can come back, I think, in 2 years. If not, you can't apply for a visa in 5. That was the way they dealt with Irish citizens at that time. And so
what happened? They left?
Yeah, they agreed to go and pay their own way, and so they would be able to come back ultimately. But
Okay. Yeah, that happens a lot. So if you catch them, okay, slap on the wrist, and they'll try again in 2 years. All right.
Yeah.
So they'll come back again. Oh, my bad. We had a good time here. We enjoyed the country. Those maybe not the worst case scenario. The ones I'm concerned about are those who have ties with drug cartels, domestic terrorists, people who are here doing harm to our country. Right.
You know what I noticed? A lot of them from El Salvador. It's a very troubled country, and you have a certain
13.
gang.
Yeah,
that's right. You have a certain gang there. I don't like naming them by name, but you can. And they're so dangerous.
They are.
I mean, they're horrifically dangerous. You know the cases in Virginia where they killed a pregnant girl, and they just slaughter people. And they were doing that where they come from, and they're slipping in. And you see the jails. I saw a documentary about the jails down there. There's like a cell built for 30 people. There might be 100 or something people in it. There's nowhere to lay down even. And they're there for maybe years. And so when they get out, they want to get over here, but then they continue their illegal activity up here. And the people are fleeing there too, scared to death of them. And so how do you decide who's with them and who's not? I guess the tattoos, I don't know. You guys have ways to identify all that.
Yeah, of course. They love to tat themselves up. All these gangs do to identify themselves, right? They give themselves up that way. They're very proud of it. That's what they're all about. Yeah, they have all the symbols and stuff. And, the black hand, it's from Mexican Mafia, right? Sometimes they have the MA in there, the 13th letter in the alphabet. A lot of these groups are affiliated with the Mexican Mafia for protection. SIR 13, MS 13. I mean, so if you see a 13, they're affiliated some way with the Mexican Mafia. They have allegiance to them. They always have some little infighting here and there.
When you guys or even the state books you into a jail, it's always, do you have any scars or tattoos?
They separate them.
Out to say none.
They separate them. Your Bloods and Crips have to be separated, right? Even within the blood set.
They also the gang threat group designation and all that.
You have to, because it can get bloody and dangerous and ruthless in there. And as you know, the prison system, gang fights happen all the time. All the time.
Escaped from prison. I ended up 4 years in Supermaxes in 2 different states, and in Virginia at Wallens Ridge State Prison, one of the worst. HBO did a special about it called Up the Ridge. The officers were killing people, but then the inmates were killing each other. Yeah. And in this elevated platform, you come out of your cell like, once a day, maybe every other day, in small groups, and the gang members immediately jump on each other, and they'd hit a horn, and everybody had to lay face down, and I would never lay face down. I'd run back to my cell, because I don't want to lay out there when the shooting starts.
No.
So they use a shotgun, one blank, boom, in a big concrete area, and your ears about blow out of your head. And then they start shooting the rubber little pellets. What do you call those? The little ones, a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And they're hard as a rock. And if they hit you in the eye, they probably would kill you. And I've seen guys have their faces and necks shredded open by those things, and boom, boom, boom. They're shooting down at 3 guys. Then they have attack dogs they'll turn loose on them. And it was always, like you said, those 2 groups and the other ones jumping on each other. It was crazy.
Yeah, gang rivalries are intense. They're brutal. And, sometimes they even turn on themselves. It's just, you don't know what goes on in those places.
Listen, these guys, when I was incarcerated, especially the leadership, they would go around calling everybody else a snitch, or you telling the investigator this or that, pointing finger like this all the time. But in the end, you find out it's always the leaders that are making the deals with outside agencies, the prison investigator.
Yeah.
On everybody else, every staff member, their own buddies who they're recruiting who to do their dirty work. And then when the shit hits the fan, excuse my language, they get the deals, maybe 5 years, and then the guys they recruited get 20 years. Yes.
That's what they do. The hierarchy, they're not stupid. It's like the mafia, right? They delegate everything down, and they're not going to be the trigger pullers anymore. Maybe like El Chapo. El Chapo said when he escaped the second time, he was interviewed by Sean Penn and Kate Del Castillo in the Sentinel Mountains. That's unbelievable. If you haven't seen that interview, go see in Rolling Stone magazine. Go read that. That's unbelievable that he even did that interview. But even he said he himself started to kill about 2,000 people. That's not everybody he delegated to kill. I mean, that's what he did just to become who he did. So, some of these mafia guys who, they talked about they killed 10 or 12. I think that's what they did, some of these guys in a week.
Yeah, Mexico is completely out of control still.
Out of nation. That's a failed state right there. That's a narco state. No doubt about it.
Yeah, they took over everything from the Colombians. Now they're bringing everything in, the meth, manufactured meth, the Chinese fentanyl.
And Lopez Obrador, he's a socialist, and he's soft on cartel leadership. Soft on cartel leadership. He's a problem there too. The corruption reeks all the way to the top. I mean, his general Cienfuego was indicted during Trump administration. He was arrested in LAX for money laundering for drug proceeds. And on you can look this up. And I wrote my book. Lopez Obrador insists that he gets released. Why?
Listen, I have various health issues. I go to different doctors, and one of the nurses, she's from Mexico, and so she knows about my show, Inmate to Roommate, my true crime channel. She said, "I really admire you turning your life around." She said, "I don't judge." She said, "My whole family's Mexican cartel." I said, "Oh my God!" I said, "Who admits that?"
I don't know anybody admits that.
Who admits that? I said, "I don't want to know. I don't want to know."
Oh no, that's a big, and that's a dangerous game because these people are ruthless and they're killers. And what they're happening here is they're destroying this country. Now we talked before, the only way we can win the war on drugs, we don't have an equal partner in Mexico, but what we need here is people to hopefully get the treatment to help them beat their addiction. That's how we win the war on drugs. People stop using drugs. It's tough.
I have a guest coming up. I'm not going to say his name right now because I'm going to have an exclusive. This guy is spearheading with a team of scientists and universities. They have developed one or two drugs that supposedly, according to their research that's coming out, when you take this, it breaks you of your addiction. I don't know the science behind it, but they have some of the top universities, very secretive. They get ready to do an interview with me. So I'm going to put that out there for the world. Hopefully this can be one of the things that helps because, they always say there's one pill to cure something else, but then what are the problems this pill creates?
What side effects are you going to get with this one?
So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Best bet, just say no, then go. Follow Nancy Grace's advice. Not Nancy Grace, Nancy
Reagan. Nancy Reagan. Just say no. It's hard. And that starts at an early age in good parenting. You have to be, we're talking about protecting your kids from serial killers. How about protect your kids from kids or bad influences is going to help your kid become an addict or junkie? Get them away from that. Be on top of your family so they don't end up being that way. So they're not being a cost to society. So they themselves can be good parents. Because a lot of these addicts cannot be good parents themselves.
The key to parenting is being present in your child's life.
You have to be.
Yeah, I see Dr. Oz all the time when I was in prison, and he would always talk about addiction and being present for your kids. And he would say, the best advice I can give you is to show up in life. Be there. Be there for your loved ones. Be there for your kids. Everything's going to turn out fine. In my case, put God first. Now, my relationships are strained because I was incarcerated so long. But as a general rule, I agree with that. Parents that are present and doing things with their kids, the kids turn out well balanced and they're fine.
That's what I do. I do the best I can. I'm always there with them. You have to be with them. That's the key of being a good parent. My parents were there for me. I'm there for my children. And you teach the same, they're there for their kids. It has to be a healthy cycle. You have to keep that healthy cycle.
Yep. And your background, you know what to look out for. If there's somebody looking at them the wrong way or spending too much time with them or trying to isolate them, you're immediately on it. I know I would be too because
I am too. And that's what we're doing these shows to help people who maybe don't have our background or experiences to know what to look for their children, for their own lives, how to improve it, not to be a victim. You don't want to be a victim. We want to make sure that you're not victimized by these serial killers, these kidnappers, all these predators out there, or these junkies that need customers, right? I mean, not junkies, these drug dealers, they're looking for junkies. Yeah.
We know it's happening. Kids have been abducted since the beginning of time, and it's probably getting worse. But now with all these Ring doorbell cams and cameras everywhere, this footage is all over the internet now of like a little girl walking down the block and a guy jumping out and traffic and dragging them right into a van, or her fighting her way free. These videos are everywhere. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This is like really happening on a quiet suburban street.
Yeah, you don't have to be a kid. I don't know if you saw this one. This happened in Florida, in Pasco County. I used to work a lot in Pasco County, which is north of Tampa, where Hillsborough is. And this happened a few months ago. This is in Holiday in West Pasco County, where an Uber Eats driver texts his wife that we're talking about MS-13, so this fits perfectly. Texts his wife that, hey, this is my last delivery. I'm going home and I should be done. He delivers the food. He goes in, and the guy thumps him, kills him, dismembers him, and he ends up being an MS-13 member in there. He was an Uber Eats driver, and they find out his body is in body bags being taken outside to be thrown away with the trash. And the police had information going in there, so they were able to arrest this guy. The sheriff there makes these amazing statements. What a monster this guy is. Dynamic, evil action. And that's what MS-13 has a base on, Mara Salvatrucha. Very, very satanic. So
I remember there was a case like that where there was, I think it was Memphis or Nashville, 3-4 years ago, maybe. Young college girl coming out of a nightclub over there. She drank a little bit. She was waiting for an Uber. So a guy
yes,
pulled up and, as guys do, said hello to her, whatever. She thought it was Uber, jumped in the back seat. That guy took her off and raped and killed her.
killed her.
She didn't,
Yeah, especially if you've been drinking, very dangerous, because you're right there. You don't have your wits really about yourself, right? You're intoxicated. People can take advantage of it. And that's why women especially, have to be careful when they leave the drinks around. They get slipped those pills, right, to take advantage of them. So they have to be very careful. All those things you have to teach, and be careful. And stay in a group and try not to drink a lot in public, because that's when bad things happen. You get drunk in public, bad things happen.
In Fort Lauderdale, I think it's still there in Fort Lauderdale. It's called Coconuts. It's on the water, like a marina and a restaurant, and a little bit of a dancing thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was there even in the 90s. And I had a beautiful Cadillac at the time. I had my girlfriend with me. And we had just finished eating there. I think the car was either valeted, or I picked it up and I'm swinging around. And this girl kind of stumbled into the car, and I rolled the window down. And she said, "Okay, thanks for picking me up." And she jumped in my back seat. She was drunk. She had to be about 19 years old. And me and my girl looked at each other like, what the hell just happened? This is like a drunk girl in the backseat. And so I went and got the bouncer and everything. And I said, "Hey, this girl just got in like a random car with us. Make sure she gets home safe." And we got her back out of the car.
That's how bad things happen, man. You get drunk like that. You're lucky it was your car, and not some serial rapist or killer. You got some serial rapist killer. Oh, not a problem, dear. Boop, boop. Bad news for you.
Never to be seen again.
Bundy,
Okay.
be a Bundy style.
Yep. What other topics are we on? We have some interesting ones on your list.
Yeah, we got another one here on what's going on with all these cyber attacks all of a sudden. It has become really unbelievable the last few days in this country. They think it's from Russia, from Russian groups, possibly orchestrated by Putin, because he's upset with his proxy war that we're supporting Ukraine.
Right.
So he's attacking us. So this seems like now this is escalating more and more, because a lot of our personal information is being compromised. This is the state level, local level, federal level. They said it's massive in certain states right now. We're reading Oregon, Louisiana, and others, and spreading. So a lot of our personal information has been compromised. So it shows that the governments can't protect our personal information from these hackers. It shows that private sector can't protect our personal information either. So this is a serious crisis we have in our country. Our personal information, which can ruin our credit, ruin our lives, is happening as we speak right now.
I haven't heard a lot about that, but I heard about a site called Temu, Temu, that's advertising everywhere for cheap products. They have corporate offices in Massachusetts, but recently like a freedom group investigated them and found out they're actually based in Shanghai, China, capturing all your information as soon as you download the app.
That's horrible.
From your photographs, for everything. It immediately gets all your information. Incredibly, they had an ad that I liked the other day, and I heard somebody else used them and was kind of satisfied. I literally 45 minutes before reading that warning had downloaded the app. This is like 2 days ago. And I was like, "Oh no." And I read that and I said, "I just downloaded them. I'm going to delete them." And I went right back and deleted them before I even used it. So
be careful with too, Bill.
What's that?
And I don't like using them after I found out the communists are behind them. TikTok.
Oh, TikTok's huge. Yep.
Don't be using TikTok. Folks, I'm telling you, the Chinese are using your personal information, and they're going to use it against you. I will not be using TikTok. And now there's congressional hearings. Don't be surprised they banned TikTok in this country. Don't be surprised. So that's where we're going. I don't use it anymore. I use it very, very lightly, and I stopped it because I didn't like what I was seeing. First of all, it's for younger generation. They do a lot of silly stuff, which is great. That's for them. But I don't like the ties with the communist CCP. That's a problem for us.
There are ways to sell books there called book talks, and I just on my personal TikTok got over the 1,000 subscribers you need to start doing lives. But I have the same concerns you do, so I'm kind of on the fence about it.
Might get banned.
Huh?
TikTok might get banned in the United States. That's where the big push is going.
I looked at my phone's memory. Somebody showed me there's a way to look how many of your apps and photos and this and that, how much storage space each one's using on your phone.
Yeah.
TikTok is like this enormous amount of space on my phone because of all the features it has. I guess nothing else has that much space on my phone.
You hear from me. They're using that information against you. They're going to be using it against you because they're there behind. And be honest, that's and like I said, it takes a while for laws to catch up to technology. We saw it with the internet. We're seeing it with this. We're seeing with AI. This is the next topic: artificial intelligence.
I used to watch a lot of spy shows, stuff about Mossad and intelligence agencies and how they can use things that maybe your skeletons in your closet, or things you do privately, and they'll spy and obtain that information, use it to
against you.
They'll exploit you to use you as an asset against your own country, your own family.
Yep.
And so with TikTok, I can see that if you're doing weird stuff on the side there,
they
use have that, and they can go to law enforcement. Oh, they could turn you in, or they can go to your family and say, "Look what he's really doing." They own you. So if they want to exploit you as an asset, they have leverage. If they
and what personal information do you put in there? Be careful.
Right, banking, or else
banking, everything. Dude, I'm telling you, Bill. There's a lot of bad things here, and the same things are being applied to artificial intelligence. With Elon Musk saying this could be the most dangerous thing ever created by man to maybe destroy mankind.
What's your opinion on Bitcoin and then this digital currency? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't like it at all. I don't invest in that. I think it's where the internet bubble was back in the 90s. I think it's going to bust also. I'm a long-term investor. I've become very successful. I've invested I invested in the 90s when I started with customs, and I got caught up with a little bit with the internet because I started with the internet back with Windows 95 came out. A lot of people were saying, what's the internet? What are you doing? And all that, and dial up and everything else. And I started with that. And then I started with E-Trade and Ameritrade. And I started trading early. I started using the internet for my advantage early. And I made some pretty good trades and everything else. But like everybody else, the internet bubble went up and it went down and crashed.
The crash dot bomb.
Right. So I learned a lot. And I went long-term investing after that with the S&P 500 with my TSP, right? And I went long-term. I think the best thing is I don't think this is going to do well. I think the eventually Bitcoin is going to be another bomb too.
I know Bitcoin types, they'll say that they have your account and they'll have a few $100 million of different people's money in there, and it can't be hacked. But then the money evaporates and the person behind it is in the wind too.
I don't trust any of that.
I've seen that happen a few times, and I'm like, why would you put your money in some anonymous thing? I have people hit me all the time on the internet because I have some level of fame right now. Hey, you're a reality star. I follow your stuff. I'm a financial person. I'm this, I'm that. You want to get involved with Bitcoin? And I'm like, nah, too many scammers there. Thanks.
It's all full of scammers. And I'll give a personal note too. Just selling personal property on Facebook, right? On Facebook Market, it's full of scammers. Be careful. Any you put Facebook, any of these places online, people are trying to hustle you. Say, hey, I can't make it in person, but what can you save the money? And can I pay you with a cashier's check? What's your personal information? Don't ever give your personal information. It says cash. You have cash? Show up to my house. I'm not doing anything else like that because
you better have one of those pens that can detect the counterfeits and hope it's not a super bill from North Korea.
Yeah, they're going to get you one way or the other. But there's scammers everywhere, Bill, everywhere. And artificial intelligence is being pushed behind a lot of the stuff here. Going back with Elon Musk, be careful. And the question becomes, if they're skeptical about it, why is they so deep into it, and why are they pushing it so hard? If they know at the end it could be detrimental to us as society, then why are you so deep into it? You like the money right now, but 100 years from now could be the end of the human race. I don't know.
I think there was a story recently. Somebody asked one of the AI applications, give me step-by-step instructions for taking over the world,
Sure.
And at first it was providing some advice, but then later ones, I guess, as they upgraded it, were like, I can't advise you on something like that. It seems to be illegal or something,
Yeah, there's a lot. Like I said, we don't have enough really legislation against this. We don't know what's there. So again, we're behind the curve board, just like with TikTok, just like with cyber attack, just like everything else. It's always behind, trying to play catch up, but the danger's already being caused already.
And if the American companies are forced to put checks and balances, which they say they are, putting certain safeguards, guidelines in place into the whatever it is, it's so smart it can overcome those. One, yes. Two, even if they're forced to do it here, what's stopping China to coming out with a version that's only released here that's capable of anything, especially the worst things?
Yeah, I don't trust the Chinese at all. The CCP, the Communist Chinese Party, Xi Jinping, they are, I call it the evil empire. It's my book. the evil empire, communist China. Read that one also, and I give example and citing and how corrupt they are. And don't be surprised learning see how the war works out in Ukraine. If somehow Ukraine loses, which I don't think they will, be careful with Biden being so weak they don't invade Taiwan. So what? Yeah, watch out for that.
They've been doing exercises closer and closer, and launching missiles and training.
Flyovers in their airspace. Flyovers in their airspace.
Right.
They're tormenting these people.
I saw something in the news just yesterday where Putin finally moved in tactical nuclear weapons into Belarus. And he's been saying he's going to do it. I think when a dictator, tyrant who's scared of being assassinated or losing his power says something like that, you better believe him.
Yeah, well, he's about to lose it because there's a lot of Russians now that want regime change. They're tired of this dictator, and they want him out. So now the war is going to go proactive in Russia. And like I said in my book, and I said it in your shows, this is about the civil war in Russia. He made the worst. He could have lived the next 10 years in his big palace, $1 billion palace off the Black Sea. He got greedy. He got stupid. It's going to cost him everything.
I absolutely agree. I agree. He's something else. He's a tyrant. And
he's now an indicted war criminal by the International Criminal Court in The Hague.
You know what I found amusing is that his commanders in the field would be using social media and their troops while they're deployed, telling their family, sending pictures back where they were. So our intelligence agencies got all that,
right,
and fed the targeting information directly to within minutes of them posting something to their family about where they were.
They lit them up.
They struck them. So they were hitting their commanders and generals like that all the time.
Well, they're stupid. You should know better.
Yeah, I think they call that operational awareness or something.
That's just common sense 101, I think.
Right.
It's not like you're racing a hole. You know what they can track and geo-tracking and everything else.
I was raised in the hole. There was no GPS or social media in prison, and even I know that if you're trying to hide from intelligence agencies,
don't be using your phone.
You don't pick up a phone or a computer, especially get on social media. Hey, I'm going to be here, for another 2 hours. Yeah.
Did you see the video and of that your Russian soldier turning himself over to surrendering to a Ukrainian drone, and the messaging going back and forth, hoping don't kill me, I want to turn myself in, and he was more afraid of the Russians killing him, finding out, so they had to tell him a secret little path to go so he can turn himself in. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. It's all over
the internet. Didn't see that one. Wow.
Yeah, it just came out. Guy got lucky. Guy got lucky that he was able to turn himself in, because if the Russians see yourself turn yourself in, surrendering, they'll kill you.
And just about all the Russian troops that were going in, especially the younger ones that were getting caught in the beginning of this, I remember them being interviewed, and they all had pretty much the same story. We were told we were not in Ukraine, or we were going in for a training exercise or something. They had no clue this was going to happen.
It's atrocious what this madman. That's all he is. He's a madman, and he's been doing this to his people for years and years, to journalists, to dissidents. I mean, don't drink hot tea if you're a dissident in Russia, right? all those poor guys.
The plutonium,
poisoning everybody. He poisons everybody. He kills everybody. And if you're a journalist or critic, man, it's amazing how many of those are thrown out the window. They slip, according to the investigation, they slip out of the windows, right? Whoa, right to their fall. I'm putting my book case after case.
One of the leaders of Ukraine a few years back was given that poison.
Poison too.
I forgot the name of it. It turns his face all pockmarked. He was like a real popular leader against Russia.
Remember what Victor Bout said when he got out in the interview? We talked about this. He said, if you wanted to do this, you should have done it years earlier. Not with Zelensky in there. You should have done it years earlier when you had a corrupt puppet in there. You would have won.
Right.
The wrong guy. He did with the wrong guy.
Talk crap about Zelensky too, saying he's aligned with this and that and child trafficking, and there's a lot of people out there saying that he's no good. He's not much better, even though he puts on a great facade. He's got great spin about his story.
Yeah, he's a lot better than Putin, that's for sure. I don't know what. I never heard any other issues, but seeing what I see,
spent like $5 billion over there a few months ago, and like all disappeared.
I don't know. I haven't heard anything about that. But I know that we have spent a lot on the war effort, but Putin has definitely stolen a lot, and now he's stealing from the oligarchs to finance his war because of all the embargoes. So the oligarchs don't like him anymore either. He's taking all their assets too. So Putin's making Russia his own personal bank account. Unbelievable.
Back to the hacking, you said that looks like it's attributable to Russia.
Yeah.
What's being hacked exactly? Do you know what's being hacked and how do
Everything. They're hitting state agencies, local agencies, federal governments. I think the Department of Energy I was reading got hacked. I was reading also private companies. So it just stinks, man, that they're hitting us all over, and it's just getting bigger. It's spreading, and it's going to cause us a lot of headaches. Our personal information. So if you have, check it out and see if your credit card. Just look into a lot of things because personal information and they can be misused. Be careful with your bank accounts. Be careful with your personal stuff because it could be hit it hard, hard, hard. And this is part of Putin's payback, but we'll be careful.
right? Okay, what else do you have on your list? Anything else that we can get to maybe one or two more? And
Yeah, maybe we talked a little bit about it, but I'm predicting that you said Joe Biden one and done, but I think he might be another LBJ, Lyndon B. Johnson. History repeats itself. He doesn't even get out of the primary. He might not even run, but I think RFK Jr. Has a chance to beat him. Very popular. Again, for a Democrat, I think he's more of a moderate. At least he doesn't support. He's a critic of Fauci, right? He's a critic of how things were done, how our civil liberties were taken in the name of a health crisis,
right,
right? And I respect that. I mean, he's a Democratic Party is outraged that he's talking like this. So there's things he's saying there which you can listen to. I don't agree with him with his take on America. We're a superpower.
Mhm.
We have to lead as a superpower. We have to confront the Putins and the Xi Jinpings because if we don't stop them, no one will, and they'll take over and they'll make our world a living hell.
That's right.
So we're it. We have that's the obligation of being a superpower and being a world leader. We have to stop evil. We stop the Nazis. We stop the Soviets. We stop ISIS. We stop Al Qaeda. We stop the anarchists. That's what the Americans do. We stop the communists anywhere in the world. That's what we do. We have to do it. We can't cower and hide. He wants us to lead the war, but then the Ukrainians will be destroyed. And then we have to have regime change in Russia. So I don't agree with his point of view on that. But interesting stuff about our civil liberties being violated in the name of a health crisis. Interesting stuff there. He has some bizarre theory. He still thinks his his uncle and his father were assassinated not by who killed them, but in a conspiracy with the government, with the CIA and others. I don't know if I buy that, but
with the CIA and the disappointment with the Bay of Pigs, there was no backup. They were promised
everything, and Kennedy being weak in Vietnam with the communists, the domino theory. Remember the domino theory? They're going to take over the region, and he was weak. He didn't support the war. All that stuff. Then LBJ, of course, changed his tune. He created Gulf of Tonkin problem. Never happened to justify the war in Vietnam.
All the reasons with was it Marcelo, the guy from Louisiana,
Sure.
yeah, and the Cuban situation, and the CIA, and then
Santo Cavalcante Jr. and Santo Cavalcante Jr. in Tampa.
Yep, the guy Sam Giancana, promised them the vote if they got them into office. If they got them into office, they'd back off the mob. Instead, they went after them even harder.
Bobby Kennedy. They said we've been tricked.
That's exactly right. And so there was a lot of motivation from different fronts. And back then, it was a more innocent time. The reason I believe there's way more to it than Hartland or Oswald. How about by the grass there was guys with toolboxes that cleared out the area posing as Secret Service. And those toolboxes, obviously, probably they assembled a gun or guns out of those boxes. Everybody that was there and was run out of the area was shown faces of the employees, the Secret Service agents, and they said, nope. It wasn't any of the railroad employees, and it wasn't any of the Secret Service agents. Whoever those guys were, and there's smoke from behind that fence as well. So I believe there's way more to this assassination.
Yeah, that's what he thinks. I personally, I'm not into that conspiracy. I think it was Oswald, and I think it was Sirhan who killed his. He was there when his father was shot, by the way, and he was there when he died in the hotel. He died a few days later, and he won the California primary. He probably would. He could have been another future president. He is now the fourth Kennedy to run for office. Mm-hmm. Ted Kennedy didn't do well in the 80s either, but he's now the fourth Kennedy to one. I think, based on everything else I'm seeing, he can beat this lame president, Joe Biden.
Yeah. I think Trump's going to beat them all. He's going to pardon himself, and he's going to go.
If he can't,
he needs to do it there to start putting some of these Democrats.
But if it's not Trump, DeSantis will be a good one too.
I disagree with my partner and my co-host here now, but I told you during.
I know we agree to disagree. You like Trump, I like
downtown
DeSantis.
offender, and he would not let a single person out during COVID.
You told me that, yeah.
The states were. They could have easily let me finish my last 8 months on house arrest. Instead, I lived in terror of dying of COVID, and guys were dying all around me.
Yeah, but DeSantis is still a lot better than Biden or RFK Jr. That's for sure.
And he won't ensure that the murderer of Sandy Modell's son, Ryan Modell, is prosecuted.
Oh, you're talking about that story too. Yeah, that's an interesting
no
story.
respect for DeSantis whatsoever.
People can look into that, right? Where can they find that story? Look into that.
That's on my site. You guys can find that. There's also a free book out about it that I have available. That Professor Modell wrote about the murder of his son and how Ron DeSantis will not act to ensure that this man is prosecuted.
Pressure because of the NRA, you were saying?
The NRA, they're afraid that DeSantis and the prosecutor, Amir Fox, I think her name is, in Fort Myers area, is afraid that there's a support of the NRA because the guy claimed stand your ground, but he actually hunted this guy down and killed him.
Yeah, that's not standing your ground. That's
they locked in your house. He didn't listen to them, which maybe he didn't have.
That's right. The police say stay home, right? Stay home.
Yep, and maybe that's not a lawful order. You can still do what you want, but then when you did what you want, you're guilty of murder.
No, that's. I mean, when you hunt someone down like that, when it's not a threat to you. He's already your problem. It was an accident that he accidentally went to the wrong. He didn't even try to break in or anything like that.
Nope, he was he went to a class to learn how to work on educated to try to work on pacemakers because his mother died of a heart attack or his heart issue. And he just got landed a job in Orlando. He's moving back home with his father, who's a very prominent professor in Florida. And he had some drinks at the pool at a beautiful condominium complex in Fort Myers, very high end. And 1 o'clock in the morning, he was a little tipsy. He's in his bathing suit, nothing else, not armed. The buildings look identical. He thought he was going back to his unit and he couldn't get in. So he knocks and, whatever. And the homeowner came with a gun and the wife confronting him, say, hey, you've got the wrong apartment. You don't live here. And the wife was like, well, we know who he is, but he lives over there. And sent him on his way and slammed the door on him. I think his toe got cut or something by the door. Anyway, wow. So he was several buildings away hosing off his bloody toe when the guy called the police and they said, okay, we're going to send the police over to see what's going on. Don't go out of the house. And the guy waited 4 or 5 minutes, the killer, to exit the house anyway and looked all over the complex for the guy, found him sitting there hosing his toe off, with a garden hose, and put the laser sight in his face. He woke up. He stood up, turned around as they turned towards him or faced him or stood next to him. He immediately executed him.
And you interviewed his father, right?
The father was on my show. He was on there. I'll put the link for that one in the description.
Yeah, you should check that one out too. That's a fascinating story too. You stand your ground. Means stand your ground. That doesn't mean go after people, hunt them down. That's for sure.
Exactly. By the way, we're trying to get the attention of Nancy Grace again. If you'd like to interview Sandy, Professor Modell, Sandy Modell, he's been trying to reach out to you. She was nice enough to cover my first true crime book about Robert Durst, Sex and the Serial Killer, My Bizarre Times with Robert Durst, on her podcast before I was even released from prison. So we have respect.
Oh, there you go.
Grace.
There you
go. Professor Modell has been trying to elicit your assistance and trying to see this man prosecuted because he's gotten away with, in our opinion, murder.
Maybe we should cover my book, ATF Undercover.
Yeah, there you go.
I wouldn't mind doing her show too if she likes it. That'll be fun.
Yep.
You're watching.
All right, Ignacio, we're going to wrap this up now. This is
go, bro.
2. Let's be consistent now. Everybody, again, Ignacio is retired ATF. He's written well over 70 books, including ATF Undercover. Links in the description. His latest book, Psycho Killers. I believe that's your latest one.
Psycho Killers, and I just finished Miami's history with the mafia too. Interesting history. We can talk about that in the next one.
Everybody loves Miami, so they all want to read that one. I'm looking forward to it, Ignacio. Thank you for joining me as my guest host, and we are going to make this a regular thing. Thanks for joining. Stay tuned. Please hit like and subscribe. If you like what we're doing, put the notification bell. I have to say all these things, obviously, because I'm trying to build my numbers up. It's just new to me. I was in prison a long time, but I know it's important to build these numbers up. YouTube has recently blessed me and started monetizing my channel. So the little bit of ads people see, I get a few cents here and there. The bigger the numbers, the better. Please hit like and subscribe if you support what I'm doing. Post-incarceration after 18 years in prison, I'm trying to help people. Thank you for joining. Steal the spotlight.
Check our sites on Patreon too. Support us on Patreon.
Links for Patreon are in the description. Check it out. Donate if you feel so led.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Bye-bye.